and welcome to In the Mouth of Monster. I'm your host, Monster Dugan, and with me, as always, is my co-host here, Gloria. How you doing?
Hi. Good. Doing great. Doing great.
So, what have you been up to lately? You said something about you were at a shoot all day, right?
Yeah, I do these. I do some videos. Are you there? Oh,
Yeah,
good. I thought I
yeah.
disconnected. I do some videos for a group called Baga Films. They come from Mexico, but they also are making films now in America and trying to grow their group. And they're going to start branching out into bigger projects. And I met them about a year ago at a party at a mansion, some networking event, and I was out networking, trying to meet as many people as I could, and it paid off. I mean, that's what you do as an actor. You go out and you get networking so you can get work. And it looks like I might have a film coming up pretty soon. It's going to, I don't want to really talk about it too much, but it's from somebody I also met at a networking event, and I'm really excited about it. And I feel like I'm busy all the time. I can't keep up,
I know. Every
which
time
is good.
I know. I always see it's like every day you're doing something. Were you just teaching a second grade class? You said too the other day, substitute.
Oh my God. I do substitute teaching. So I do that because I didn't want to be a full-time teacher because that is just like too much. But I love being around kids. And oh my God, these kids, oh my God, today, I was with some sixth graders and they're like getting resource. So you got to go, they come in like a small class, right? And you teach like seven or eight of them. And they got a couple of kids laying on the ground and you're like, I just walk by and ignore them because they just want to get a rise out of you and they want to say like the F word and stuff and they want to do all kinds of shoot each other with hand sanitizer. But you just walk around and you work with the people who want to work and then eventually they just give up. But yeah, that's what I do. I'm just it feels like I wish I could think of all the things I've been up to. I just can't, but I feel like I've been busy.
Oh no, yeah, you have. If people see your social media, they'll see you're always busy. You're like me. I got to keep my hands full because if I don't, then I don't know what to do with myself. So
I know, right? It's just too much. I love it just being on the go and like doing what I'm doing right now. And I love going from one place to the next. Oh, that's right. This weekend I'll be doing something. I'm going to be doing some extra work in Globe. They're doing a film called The Dog Bite Murders, and it's about like where they hung this guy. And so it's historical piece. And then I also did this thing called 1912 where you had to dress up in period. So both of them are period pieces, like in the 1900s. So, and it's extra work, and I'm not getting paid, and I don't care. I like to do what I do.
yeah, so you got some cool costumes in. I would assume, right?
I do. I've been collecting costumes for
Oh,
she's Pete. I can't remember how long. And I mean, I have a closet just full of stuff. And it's the creative part of me that just likes to come up with great stuff on the fly. And if not, I'll go to the Goodwill and I'll buy something. Like I went to Sholo, not Sholo, but Jerome at the film festival. We didn't even see each
yeah, I
other.
know. I didn't see you. I was all over that place too, but I
And
didn't
we
see
were
you.
staying in
Yeah,
the same hotel.
I know. I saw John Kestner, but I didn't see you. I saw
I,
Kestner. He was in a elevator going down or going up, and I was going down. So I was waiting for the elevator, and as he passed by, I was like, "Hey, I know that guy," and I was like, "Hey, it's John."
yeah, you know
So,
what? He was on the way to our room so he could check out the room. Actually, I
oh,
think that was that Friday night. Friday night,
yeah, I think it was Friday
I
night.
think it was. And
Yeah, because
the
it was right
funniest
before I
thing,
went to my screening. Yeah, because my screening was at
yeah,
noon.
yeah. And I missed your screening because we got there late.
Oh yeah,
I think we
there
got
was,
there
there
late.
was almost nobody in there, but hey, it is
Oh,
what
but you know
it is,
what?
Yeah,
You know what? That's how it is at film festivals. You just never
yeah.
know
Well, it was
who's going to be there.
cool just to have it playing in Jerome. So you
Yeah,
never.
Jerome was awesome. And you know what's so funny? I was looking all over for that 20s cut, that 20s dance that I told you about. I
Yeah,
was looking all over for some gloves and I found in my costume, I found gloves that I needed, but I ended up choosing red gloves and it was better anyway. So everything works out the way it's supposed to work out. Except for I would have loved to have seen you there.
I know. Well, I did so much stuff. I mean, if people keep track of me online, they'll see that I was like nonstop busy when I was there. I did everything I could possibly do over there.
You did. You did. I
I
saw every
tracked
photo from
all
every
over.
place.
Yeah, I
Oh
went
my
all
God.
over that.
Yeah.
I treaded all over the hell out of that town. I love that
I
place,
I
though.
was jealous. I was like,
Yeah,
dang, I didn't get to see that, and that, and that, and that.
yeah, it's
And I was
such a
like,
fun
okay, that's
place.
yeah,
Yeah,
I saw all your photos. I'm like, oh, you
yeah.
did go everywhere.
Yeah, I
You
tried to
did.
because I hadn't been back. That was the first time I've been back in 13 years, and I was like, hey man, I wanted to get as much stuff in as possible while I'm there.
Yeah.
I don't know how long it's
So
gonna take me before I go back. It's only 2 hours away, but for some reason, it takes me 13 years to go back. Uh,
and and my friend Bill and I, we drove the back roads on the way there. I guess
yeah,
there's a
I did as
long
well.
route.
Yeah,
So did you too?
yeah.
Wasn't it
I did.
beautiful?
Oh yeah, yeah,
So
definitely.
peaceful. Yeah.
I love that place.
And I really hope to go to Sholo if I can. When is it? Is it next
It'll
week?
be the 20th through the 23rd.
Is that next weekend?
Yeah, yeah,
Holy shit. I
yeah. I'll be
probably won't
going
be
up on
going.
Thursday, and then I'll be coming back on Monday. So
Oh, that's the best way to do it. Just spend the whole weekend
yeah,
there.
yeah,
If,
that's what we
if
did
I
in
win the
Rome
lottery,
too. So I'm
if I
dragging my
win the
mom along
lottery,
with
I'll
me.
go.
So
Yeah, that's good. That's the best. If I can win the lottery, I'll be heading out there. What day is your film showing?
I'm not. I don't remember. I saw the list for it, but I don't remember exactly when. But I know I'll be on the red carpet at I think it's 7:35 or 7:45. So they have
And
it
then you know
scheduled.
what the
So,
best yeah, the best part is the award ceremony. That's such a great time. And
yeah,
I
that's
got
what
so
I'm
lucky I got to meet Stephanie. She's the one of the founders of the festival, and I
okay.
got to meet her there, and she was just so sweet to me last year. And so that's why honestly, more than anything, I just like to go just to see her. I mean, of course your film, but no, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? I
yeah,
just they make you feel so at
yeah.
home.
Well,
You're gonna enjoy yourself so much.
it was
Yeah.
nice to be selected, and it's cool to have it playing. So I'm looking forward to it. Should be fun. So yeah, I've been up to a bunch of stuff too
Yeah. And
myself. Oh, go ahead.
I hope you get selected in Chandler.
Yeah, we'll see. You did a fantastic
That'd
job.
be
Yeah, you guys are going to be surprised at this new one. It's a really emotional piece dealing with mental health and whatnot, and I think it's going to do very well. So yeah,
I
so
think
I'm
so.
excited to
I
share it
think
with
so.
you. And Paul, who's
There's
on our feature interview, we'll be talking to later here. He did a voice in it as well, and you guys are fantastic in it. I mean, I couldn't ask for better voices. So
that's great. I never knew he did all that voice work, but listening to him talk, he's just such a natural.
yeah. Yeah, so yeah,
Yeah.
'cause I've been up to a bunch of stuff too. That's what I was going to say is aside from doing my movie, which I'm still working on, just a couple of tweaks here and there before we send it out to the Chandler Film Festival here. Their deadline is coming up here in November, so it'll be soon, within the next
Hmm.
couple of week or so. I'll probably
Hmm.
submit it and stuff. But I've been doing that and working on two books. We have a charity anthology book for a Night of Misfit Films that's called The Night of Misfit Stories that's coming out. So that's kind of cool.
Oh,
Yeah, Danita's gonna, uh, pimp it out basically at her at the film festival. So everybody will
oh,
be able to,
nice.
you'll be able to,
Oh, that's
get a
nice.
copy if you want and whatnot.
I'm
Yeah, it's
actually
really cool. There's a lot of people that were involved in that one. A lot of people that had films
just
playing in her festival that wrote stories.
like all that, like little short stories
Yeah, yeah, just
that
little.
will you be reading them there at the festival?
Probably not.
They're too long or what?
Yeah, they kind of are. They're a few pages each. So.
Oh, okay.
But Paul did a couple stories for it too, and Danita wrote a story. Gautier Rad, who runs the festival with her, has a story in it. So there's a bunch of people in there with some cool stories. I
I
also I also was writing my finishing my new book as well, More Monsters in the Dark, which is coming out here in about a week or so in October.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, this is my second collection of short stories, all basically monsters and slashers. I got some really cool short stories in there this time that is even better than the first book. At least I think so. So
Oh,
hopefully
nice.
some
And
people will.
where will we get that?
You can find that on Amazon, just
Okay.
under the title of More Monsters in the Dark by Monster Smith is the author name. That's my author name. It's from Red Cape Publishing, and yeah, that'll be out. I'll post links for it all over
Of
social
course.
media and try to sell it as much as I can. But yeah, I had a couple really cool stories I came up with in there. One of them called the Diet Club. Uh,
Ooh.
I want to just kind of say that title just because to leave it open. And there's one that's called a Monster Bar about a candy bar that gets sold on Halloween to a small town, and it's called the Monster Bar. And you can only
That
imagine
sounds
what
good.
happens in that. Yeah. So I've
That
got some cool
sounds good.
little things I've been working on there too. But yeah, I keep my butt busy, so it's kind of nice to take a break finally and relax a
Oh,
little
yeah.
bit. I finished it all just this past weekend, except for a few tweaks on my film, but other than that, I'm pretty
Speak,
much done. So.
speaking of, now that you mentioned that, I'm actually going to be one of the panel of judges for some of the short films for short scripts for the Night of Misfit Films.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, they
That'd be
asked me, and
awesome.
I'm like, hell yeah,
Yeah,
heck
definitely.
yeah,
Yeah,
I'd like to
take
do.
that on the
Yeah,
challenge. Yeah.
so that's another thing to kind of add to my experience or repertoire. It's just like that's exciting that somebody asked me to do that, that they thought enough of me to say, let's ask Gloria. Let's ask
Yeah.
Gloria.
Yeah.
That meant a lot to me. And I'm like, yes, so I'm really excited about that. So
Yeah. Yeah. I can't wait. That'll be awesome.
yeah,
I'll
we've
be
got a
there, of
lot,
course.
we've got a
I'll
lot
see you
going on.
there. So,
Yeah, yeah.
uh,
So what that's in November, right? November something or other.
yeah, usually, it's like, I think like November 26th or somewhere
Yeah.
around there. So,
Yeah, it's Thanksgiving weekend.
yeah, she usually does it like the day after Thanksgiving, I think is usually, or that weekend after Thanksgiving, whenever the weekend
Yeah.
comes up.
Will
But,
you be there?
oh, yeah, yeah, I'll definitely be there. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. All
Uh,
right, then I'll see you.
Representing that book while we're out there. So, we'd be putting,
That's right. That's right. Duh. Okay, yeah, you said that. Okay.
well, we're going to hop into our, review here with, my buddy Joe Gurmo, on the Average Joe Report. So we'll be right back after this.
The Average Joe Report.
And we're here with my buddy Joe, world famous tattoo artist and, award-winning indie actor Joe Gurmo, here for the Average Joe, Report. And this is where a segment where I usually have Joe, I pick out a movie and have Joe, check it out and give me his thoughts on it. He's not into the industry as much as myself and some of the other people you'll see on this podcast. So, that's kind of why I like to have him here, to get an honest opinion about films and get his take on some stuff that I really like. I usually, try to find something really cool to give to him. This week I got you to finally. I've been trying to get you to watch this one for a while, but this is a really cool film here. But so how you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good, man.
Right on.
How you doing?
Same old, man. Busy. Got to hang out and meet Andre Gower last night from the Monster Squad, so that was pretty
Dude,
cool.
that's dope.
Yeah. So,
How was
big.
that?
It's, I mean, just phenomenal, man. The Q&A that guy did is it's off the hook, man. You had to be there to really to live it. It was so cool. He told a lot of stories from us, from behind the scenes and stuff. So it was really cool to check that out.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So, anyways, this film I got Joe. I had Joe watch here. It's called Coherence, and it's not really necessarily horror, and this is mainly is what we do here, but it is horror in a way, because
Very
it deals with
psychological.
it deals with the multiverse, and so it's one of those, it's trippy, which we'll get into that all here. But basically, the plot is a bunch of people gather to have a little party, a dinner, while this comet is flying overhead, and it kind of sends things into flux, and everything gets all wonky, and there turns out to be these blackout areas, so like the power gets cut to the house they're in, and there's a blackout area, and it's this whole thing where they see a light from another house, and so they go to it, and it gets all kind of crazy in there, but we'll get all into that. But so, let me, give us some thoughts. What do you think about this one, man?
I really enjoyed this movie, man. It was really cool. Just start to finish, it was captivating. I don't know, it wasn't a fast-paced movie. It wasn't like, I don't know, even like the climax of the movie, like all it really happened was tensions continued to build, but still, like, it was just a very charged movie. Like it kept you emotionally invested the whole time, and it was super cool. Like, especially once you started to figure out that all of these people that are in this house didn't belong in this house, because every time they left the house, they ended up in the same house, but that belonged to a different dimension. So everything was slightly off. Yeah, the one that was a recovered alcoholic, but in one of them, he had never recovered, and he came over violent, angry, and willing to kill him because he thought that he was sitting here with the same idea to do the same thing to him.
Yep.
And I don't know, it was just a really cool movie, like watching the whole thing.
Yeah,
So
there's so many like twists and turns in it I mean, it's just
there
it,
really were.
yeah, it just catches you off the hook. And it does star, I forget the actor's name. I always forget his name, but the guy that plays Xander and Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So He's
Okay.
in it. He's the only big name actor in it. It's a very low budget movie.
It was
It
done
takes
really
place
well.
actually in a house and on the street.
Yeah, like the only really complaint I would say is some of the cinematography, like the camera got shaky, weird, like a couple of times and some quick abrupt cuts. But other than that, the movie was fantastic. Like the sound was on point, the acting was great, the twist midway through, the twist after that, and then that final twist at the end was really just, it was cool. It was really cool.
Yeah, I kind of liked how they did the lights. They all had like lights, and so then you figured out, because you as the watcher, you don't understand what's going on at first, and you see the other house full of people, but then once you see the lights come into play, and
Yep.
like the people inside the new house, inside the house now has a different light than the guy before that left with a certain light.
Yeah,
So they start to
our
freak out. Yeah.
native house had blue, and then there was red, and then I think one of the other houses had green, and it just you never know how many of these houses there are, how many burials, because at the end she goes through how many different ones,
Yeah.
and
Because she's trying to find
she's trying to
what-
find her home,
yeah, yeah.
but she ends up finding a better home that she tries to just take.
Yeah, which is where it gets kind of, yeah, it gets, I mean, that ending is
She was the most
great.
level-headed player throughout this entire movie, and then at the end she just lost her shit.
And I just like, yeah, and I like the dichotomy of the characters and stuff because like you said, one guy, was recovering and then in one, verse, multiverse, one dimension, and then the
Yep.
next dimension he's not. And
Yep.
so it's like I like, because all the characters are a little different and you know, and so you pick up on some of those clues too as well as while you're
Yeah.
watching, you start to go, oh man, is that guy from a different one? Is this person from a different one? And that's what's
Yeah,
kind of
you
it's
start
one of
to
those
notice them acting different, and you're just like, holy shit. But no, man, it was a really good movie. It was really good. Like, kudos to the director on that one. Like, the story was clever. It was just perfectly
very,
executed.
very well written. And I like the whole cover of the comet, I thought that was a cool.
Yeah, like that was just such a great and easy way to just, this is the reason stuff is happening.
Yeah, because flying so close to the earth, disrupts,
Right? Why not? Like,
yeah.
can't be explained. So, like,
Well,
beautiful cover.
what do we know about that? You know what I mean?
Right.
Humans, what do we really know about that stuff? As much as
Exactly.
I mean,
Like, perfect explanation, perfect concept, just well done.
yeah, and then and so a little spoiler here, of course, because we already kind of spoiled it, which we're gonna do every time we review a movie. But so the end part is like, so she kind of, so the main character girl that because this follows the house full of people, but it also follows other people and blah blah
Right.
blah. But so there's
Like,
the
the
main
camera is centered on the one
and
house,
yeah, and the one girl
two
specific,
house.
yeah. And so then at the end, it's like, uh, you know, she wants to take herself out of another dimension and stay in that one. So she tries to, and things don't go as planned.
No, dude, she, like, what, tries to kill herself and throw her in her own trunk?
Yeah. And then,
What kind of plan was that?
and then the worst part of all though, because at the very end, it ends up she's stuck in another, stuck with another one of her in the same dimension. So now
Oh,
there's two of her stuck in the same dimension. So it makes you wonder, like, I wonder how many of the other people were stuck in other dimensions as well. Did that happen to any of the other characters? Like, and that's just the one house we saw. We didn't see all the other houses and all the other stuff that was going on.
right,
So
there could be an infinite number of these, man. And, like, that's the thing, is we don't know which realities these people just vanished from. We don't know which reality these people just showed up in. There could be 3, 4 of the same person, and none of them being the one that belongs there in the first place.
yeah, and then what was it? There was something where like they go to one of the houses and they go to steal something, right? And then uh so
Yeah,
like
they
they
steal
like
the
knock on the
box.
door and stuff. Yeah, yeah, the box, yeah.
And the box has a picture of each of them, and on the picture is numbers, and they're not in numerical order. There's multiples of some number, none of another number, so nobody really knows what that means until later on in the movie. They're just like, hey, I've got an idea, we need something random. They each took a picture of themselves, which turned out to be the same exact photos that they had. Actually, I think one or two of them changed them and deliberately made them different.
Yeah, yeah.
And then they rolled dice, and that's what that roll was. So it was a chaotic event. It was completely random. It was great. And then they all put a unique item into this box as well.
Yep.
It was just a completely first thing I grabbed.
Yep.
And it was super cool because they'd be like, oh crap, in mine I put a ping pong paddle. And I'm like, okay, you're not from this reality. It
Oh,
turns out that the two people that never left the house are the only two people that belong in this house.
yep.
It was super cool.
Yeah, because some of them were like, I'm not leaving. They're like, I'm staying in this, I'm not leaving this house, you know? And you're like, yeah, because I mean, you know, if you start to realize things are going weird, like that's what I would do. I'd be like, dude, I'm just gonna sit right here and just wait, you know, and
Right?
and survive, you know, and stay in my own reality where I was already at.
Exactly.
Because you don't know if the next one you go to is gonna be worse, better. I mean, because you think that the one she goes to at the end is better, but do we know? I mean, because you don't see what happens after, so we don't know. I mean, who knows? You know?
That's not her life. She doesn't know what choices she's made there. She doesn't know what life she's living there.
Exactly. Yeah, it could be complete 180 from what you know, but she
Right?
didn't have a clue. She just, oh, it looks more peaceful, so I'll go over here. It's like,
Exactly. Like you
you
don't
never
know.
know. Yeah, like that's one of those ones where it's like the grass is always greener, you know, but is it? I
The
mean,
grass is greener where you choose to water
there you go. There you go.
it.
So,
Yeah, man, great movie. Like I loved that one, and I will continue to watch it. I will continue to recommend it. Like it was super cool.
yeah, this is one I've been trying to get so many people to watch, but it's just hard too. And then like, I don't know, because it just from the looks of it, it doesn't have an enticing cover. It
Right.
doesn't
Not
look
just
very
that.
entertaining,
I
but
didn't have Tubi going into this, and that's what I had to watch it on. So I was just like, initially I was just like, great, another streaming thing. But man, that was so easy. Like I literally went to Tubi, put in my email address, and then just like, cool, here. There was no bullshit with it.
yeah, no, Tubi's like the pretty much the only like free one that's worth the
Yeah,
wait.
like kudos to them, dude. Like I was super pleased with that too.
Yeah, yeah, that's usually where you can find. I mean, so many people use like because there's Shutter and you know Netflix that
Yeah,
people like
Shutter was.
try to
I
look
did
for
not like
things.
Shutter.
And it's like Shutter and Netflix are I mean they're good, but they're not like if you want to find a real
Yeah,
crazy weird
like
stuff like
Shutter
this.
had some good stuff, but it was not worth paying for.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, like there were some cool movies on there, but I couldn't dignify the monthly cost.
Yeah, whereas Tubi's completely free, so it's like, hey man, and there's ton of stuff on there. But yeah,
Right?
this
And
one's
these
on there, yeah.
films are cool
So
because they're unique. They try hard.
yeah, and that's how I found this one. You know, it was just one of those random ones where I was like, dude, I was like, I'm gonna just pop, you know, pop this on, see what it's all about. And look, I saw it had the guy that plays Xander in Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I'm like, all right,
So,
you know, you
which
can't.
character was he in the movie?
Oh, I forget. But he's kind of annoying, kind of one of the annoying characters. I mean, I know there's a couple of them, but
I was gonna say, yeah, there's a couple of them.
I can't remember his character's name or anything, but he's not in it very much because they tried not to use him as much, you know, being it's a more independent film. They wanted to kind of use
Okay.
the other, you know, actors and stuff because he's already more well established. I mean, you know, it's freaking Xander from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Everybody knows that character. I mean, anybody
Right.
who's seen that show knows that character. He's the most, you know, the most lovable character on that whole damn show.
I
So,
never watched the show, so
oh, well, you should, man. You should actually check that out. You would really love it, actually.
right?
Yeah,
No.
your
I've
style, you'd actually
been
love it.
thinking of something new to watch, so
Yeah.
it's not
That's
a
one
bad
of those
idea.
good ones, but yeah. So final thoughts, man. You really like this one?
I did. It was really cool. Like I thoroughly enjoyed that. I'd love to see more like this. I'd love to see some other stuff by that director too. I want to see what other kind of cool creative concepts. Like his thought process was fantastic on that.
Yeah, it was
A great
brilliant.
job just creating this concept. It was very unique and super cool.
Cool. Well, all
And
right, man.
very difficult to execute. Like you said, it was just a handful of friends in a house and on a street. And it was in a very compelling film. It was cool.
Yeah, I like to get a peek at that script. I bet that script is really. I mean, it's really it's like a tight script. You know, it's really like they tuned it. You know, fine tuned it so where like everything kind of works in together, and even like you
Everything
said,
was
it's slow,
intentional.
but at the same time, it's so damn entertaining.
Yeah, it was great. It
You
was great.
can't pull yourself away. So All right, man. Well, that'll do it for this segment of the Average Joe Report. I'll have
Sounds good.
something cool for you next time. I'll look around, pick something cool for you to watch. So
Hell yeah.
we're doing it
All right,
again soon here.
I'll
Like
see
I
you
said,
later.
I talked with Andre Gower, so we will be having him as a future guest on the show, Star of the Monster Squad, at some point here. So that might be our next episode. So stay tuned, y'all, and I'll be back here in a little bit with my feature interview with my buddy Paul C. Himmis. I think that's how you say his last name. I keep butchering it all the time. Sorry, Paul. But anyways, that'll do it for the Average Joe Report. See you next time.
Later, guys. Thanks for having me.
And now for an interview with the monster.
And we're about to head into our feature interview here with Paul C. Jimenez, or Hemis, or however I don't know exactly how you pronounce that. But he's a director from Arizona that Gloria and I both know, and I met at the Night of a Misfit Films film festival in November of last
2022 November.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he'll be in here in 1 second here, and we'll get to all the good stuff. He's actually we're going to be talking to him about his new movie Maya that he just finished and put out his feature film that's making its rounds at the film festivals right now. So
Doing really well also.
yeah, he's won a ton of awards. Here he is right
Mhm.
here. He comes. Hey Paul, how you doing?
Doing well. How you guys doing?
Good, man. Good to have you on here. Yeah, so yeah, it's good to have you on here. I wanted to get you on here to discuss Maya, which your film that you have coming out here. So
Well,
wanted
thank
to-
you. Appreciate you having me on. So
yeah.
so where do you want to start? You want to start with the grisly beginnings of this, or where we
Oh
are?
yeah. We'll get into the good stuff here in a little bit. Let me start out just where are you from? First off.
Originally, I am from I was born in Staten Island. I grew up in the New York, New Jersey area. And gradually I made my way over toward the Midwest. Parents moved us out to Chicago, Indiana, back and forth. And then when I struck out on my own, I made it all the way out here to Arizona. And so I keep going westward. I guess I'll ultimately retire in the Philippines because there's not much else to go short of Hawaii. So yeah, so that's how I got out here, and I got in. I've always been into film. I made a lot of short films and such. Went to school to study it, and actually, when I got out, I started doing I created my own business. So I did a lot of industrials and commercials and things like that, including a lot of voiceover work and things. So I've always been kind of in film, doing kind of a half creative stuff and half pays the bills kind of stuff, kind of like the George Romero kind of upbringing on it. So I've seen a little bit of everything.
Yeah, so what made you want to get into film to begin with, and specifically horror? I'm always curious to see why people wanted to get into the horror genre. So
Yeah, well, I've always loved film in general. Horror was always what I gravitated to first. But I remember as a kid, my brother was doing, so I don't remember what he was doing, but my parents wanted a little bit of alone time. So every Saturday at the local theater down the street, and these were relatively good theaters back in those days. It wasn't the 14 theaters that are all the size of a bunker. And you'd go out there and they would let me see whatever was playing. It didn't, I loved it, and I kind of kept encouraging it, and they kept supporting it because I was getting what I wanted and they got some alone time. So it was mutually beneficial. So I saw everything as a kid growing up. I saw The Sting, I saw Chariots of Fire, yeah, it was a bunch of middle-aged folks, and then 8-year-old me or whatever sitting in there. But I saw everything, and I just loved everything. And but I always gravitated toward the horror and most. Sci-fi and other genre films really, kind of as well. But horror was always my favorite, and it became clear. relatively early on that this was a thing, especially growing up in New York. We had, whole areas of New York that had like the grindhouse theaters and such still, and a lot of drive-ins back in those days. So I got to see a whole bunch of kind of weird stuff relatively early, and I always was fascinated by it. My folks took me to a drive-in once. It was a Jaws knockoff called Tentacles that had like Shelley Winters in it. It's just a.
I saw that
Did you?
not long ago. I saw that. I don't know if it was on Tubi or what, but it
Yeah.
said leaving soon or something like that. I'm like, I got to see this.
Yeah, it's a killer squid movie that was like made
Yeah.
from Italian filmmakers, and it's just the big squid attack scene is hilarious, and I just watch it for that sort of kitsch value at this point. But yeah, so I saw that, and that was fine. But this was the drive-in, and my folks were not super savvy on how the drive-ins work. Now I'm like 6 or something like that at this time, and the second feature was a film called Squirm, which was a little low budget horror film about killer worms that would like bore into your face and all
I
that.
love that one actually.
Yeah, it's good.
Sure, I've seen that one. I'm sure I have. Those are the
Oh, it's
creepiest.
great. It's great. The premise is that there's an electrical storm and it's like in deep woods, Georgia. So it's a really different sort of environment. It's really an interesting, isolated place for a horror film. And all the power lines go down and they just, kind of stir up all the earthworms. And so, big fishing community, there's like guys that are digging these things up. And before you know it, the worms are like eating the townspeople. And
Mhm.
I saw that. And from that point, it's got the jump scares and it's atmospheric and things like that. And while I'm loving the film, I'm also noticing the people in the other cars. And they're all jumping, through the roof, banging their heads on the roof of the car from, the shocks and things like that. And that's when I knew that horror was that's where I knew where I wanted to be, because you don't get that sort of ability to manipulate the audience with dramas necessarily. Maybe you make them cry or something like that, but to be able to kind of play people's emotions that way, that was kind of uniquely horror. And so that sort of filmmaking really appealed to me. It was kind of like a magician, you know
Yeah.
uh, people would get freaked out, oh my god, what am I now? They know it's fake, they just don't know how it's fake. And that's horror in a nutshell.
It's like a rush. It's like an instant rush, right? You get to see the result right there. Like you don't have to wait for the people to interpret their emotions. You can see it like boom. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, so that was always my favorite. I mean, other genres have elements of that, but horror, in addition to that component of it, also had an element of creativity to it that you're kind of locked out of in other genres, because you can do stuff that's wild and crazy in horror films, and as long as you establish the world that you're creating, people will buy it. It doesn't have to make a lick of sense in reality. Fantastic. It makes no sense whatsoever,
Not
but
at all.
but it's consistent among to
So
itself, and so everybody just rolls with it.
Yeah, that's what I always liked about it was, especially indie horror, you can do basically whatever you want to do. Like mainstream horror is a thing, is cool and all, but it's like, they have people telling them what to do. Whereas, more indie, you can basically go as batshit nuts as you want with stuff. And I've seen some stuff that's, I mean, completely out there that I wouldn't recommend other people to watch, but that's only indie horror. But that's how I got involved in it too, and kind of fell in love with was just the aspect of how did they pull these things off, and the creativity of like showing body parts and faces peeling and stuff like that. I thought that was
yeah.
just that's what's fun about horror, is getting to watch those things and try to figure out how they might have pulled it off, or like and getting into that stuff. But so what made you want to jump into directing? It's one thing to be a fan of films and horror and stuff, but it's another thing to actually jump into directing, which I just found out myself, recently with shooting my first short film. So it's like, I'm in it now, and so it's like I understand that you kind of just have to go for it and just do it, just do it. Basically, is what people usually say. But what
Yeah,
made you want to get into it? So
it's like I said, I'm half artist side, I'm half business side. Just coming out of college, like I said, I went and I created a business just to start, and so I understood necessarily that if you want to enact your vision, you have to be, in charge of you have to be in charge to some extent. That's where the producing, that's where the directing comes in. If you write it and then you turn it over to a director, the director's going to may do something completely off the beam with it. But if you want your vision, you really have to be kind of, writer, director, producer, kind of in that space, because that gives you a little bit more creative control, especially at the indie level. Obviously, when you get higher up the food chain and more people have money kind of coming into the projects, then more people have vested interest in it. More hands get in the pot, and it almost always ends up badly. And so that's what you had mentioned, Tubi. I try to recommend to other filmmakers, at this level where you're basically making these very low budget, films, $100,000 or less, kind of, roll the dice a little bit, do something different. Don't just make, a Slasher in the Woods Part 12. We've seen it. We know what that
Or
is.
1200.
Yeah. I mean, we've seen it. You're not going to be able to compete with some of the ones from our memories anyway. So why don't you just kind of, make your film? If you do something, even if it doesn't turn out exactly what's in your head, which frankly it never does, if you try to roll the dice and do something that's different and fresh, people will respect it, and that's when you start getting, opportunities to make other films at different budget levels and things like that. And that's what I recommend to other filmmakers is, don't, if you've seen it in a film before, maybe rethink, maybe that's not really where you want to go. Do something different.
Yeah, speaking of that, you got that comedy that we saw at the Night of Misfit Films. I forget the name of it right now, but man, that was hilarious. So,
Great.
talking about doing something a little different and out of the box that people don't normally do, that was completely brand new to me. And I mean, the crowd loved it. It wasn't just me. The crowd went crazy for it. So
It's kind of one of my guilty subversive kind of pleasures there. But basically what we did is, I wasn't really happy with the way the distribution model was happening. This was maybe 10, 12 years ago when we actually, started thinking about this. And we distributors were kind of taking advantage, I thought, of indie filmmakers, kind of at the end of the physical media era, especially. And so, I just thought it would be funny to kind of do a thing where we, the original concept was, let's kind of make intentionally the world's worst horror film, and
Oh,
then
that's right.
and then once we've made the world's worst horror film, let's pivot to a distributor trying to convince you that it's fabulous and how they would go out and try to sell this. And so we shot like the first part of it, and we never really got around to the second part of it. But the initial part of it, we did everything intentionally bad. We used like an old DV camera, standard definition, onboard mic. The lighting was like from the grill. We had a barbecue grill going in the backyard and things like.
Mm.
And my favorite part of it is, I just buy this was, fate favors the fool. We were shooting one night, and I live kind of in like an airport path where every now and then planes will fly overhead, well overhead, but you can still kind of hear them. The mic will pick it up. And so I had this big dramatic moment in that scene where I'm trying to explain the origin of this horrible killer, and you can't even hear me because the planes and
I remember that was awesome.
yeah, and so it was fun. We were kind of a little bit frustrated from so much of the business side of stuff, and we just decided one day, hey, let's just go out and shoot some stuff, have some fun with it. And that's exactly what you saw there. It's just us basically had a couple of beers and we're screwing around.
Was
So,
that a short?
Was that a
yeah.
what?
yeah,
Was it a short?
Yes.
Okay.
yeah, it's like 7 minutes or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
It was-
world's first horror film in 6.5 minutes or whatever.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that's why I always forget the title, because I'm like, I can't remember if it's like how many minutes it was, but I always remember the world's worst horror movie. Yeah,
We did.
but-
We did the drive-in renaming thing where it's the grave in the woods, and then the title card changes.
yeah.
At You just slugged some other crap in front of it, and it's like, all right.
So before we get into some more directing stuff of yours, I wanted to ask you real quick a little bit here. So you and Gloria here have acted together before in a film.
We were in a film together. We
Yeah,
didn't.
I wanted to hear a little bit about that from you guys, and because I didn't know that. So, and I met both you guys at the Night of Misfit Films that Danita Williams Trigg runs, and she's been
Yeah.
on this show before in past. We not video wise, which I'll have her on soon again here, but so that's where I met both you guys, and so it was kind of it's kind of weird that I just found out because Gloria
Right.
told me the other day that you guys had actually acted together in a film. So I wanted to ask you about that a little bit. So
Yeah, this is a film called it's called A Man Called Nereus, and you can see it. I think it's on Tubi now, even, but
Mhm.
you can find it if you kind of search around for it. But this was good. I mean, I knew Gloria was really good, but this was kind of the first time that it's like, she should be doing this, because she was very good in that role. And by contrast, the director of the film and I played like these buddy cops, and we intentionally decided, let's just not make this really serious. And so I'm like wearing a members only jacket that doesn't quite fit, and we both have goatees for some strange reason. And yeah, it's just it
That was fun.
but everything about it kind of worked. Even our performances were pretty good, despite the fact that I think it benefited by us not taking it that seriously, because it kind of added a little energy to it. So I'm pretty happy with that whole film, and my performance and everything. So
That was good.
yeah, so speaking of that, and you were talking about voice acting a little bit there, Paul. So I got both of you guys doing some voiceover work in my new short film, Sorry I'm Late, which
Mhm.
I can't wait to share with you guys because I mean I shared it with you, Paul, to get a little feedback there on the score and whatnot, which we've revamped and it's even way better now.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was, some great feedback, so thanks. Uh, but yeah, so it was really cool to have both you guys not only on the podcast and you guys acting together, but now I got you guys in a
Right?
movie doing voiceovers together. So I thought that was kind of cool, which I will be sharing that with you guys both pretty soon here, as I'm looking to submit it to the Chandler Film Festival here before the deadline of November 4th here. So
Yeah, I enjoy doing voiceover work. I've done voiceover work basically dating back to the industrial, film days. So I've done that on a lot of documentaries and things like that. And I have a friend here who he acquires like uncompleted films from like Thailand and basically kind of half finished kung fu movies, and he'll finish them here. And since we're not really clear what the plot is at this stage, he just kind of fills in and creates a
yeah,
plot and then brings us in to do voiceover. I did that with him a couple of times, and that's a lot of fun. I don't know if you've seen
That's fun.
New York Ninja. If you ever get a chance, you get
that
a chance
sounds like something right up my alley. So
oh god, yeah, look that up. Yeah, look that up. It's on Tubi, I guess, but it's in a lot of places as well. But basically, what that was I think it was Vinegar Syndrome found or they acquired a film library, and they got a bunch of cans, but all MOS. They had no sound on any of this. They had no idea how any of it connects together. So they just kind of strung it together in something that kind of sort of made sense. And then they hired a lot of actors from the era, like Linnea Quigley and Cynthia Rothrock and people like that to do the voiceover work on it. And it's hilarious, absolutely hilarious. And for a film that we're just kind of making up a plot, it's more entertaining than a lot of the actual plots that people are writing.
right. So yeah, so let's talk a little bit about Maya. Is the reason we kind of wanted to get you on here and talk a little bit about that, which I was able to watch and review for Pop Horror, and yeah, I got to say, man, I was really impressed. There was a lot of special effects works that I was just like, how did this guy pull this off? Because like you said, when you're watching things, you're trying to figure out how he did this and how he did that, and so me being a new filmmaker as well, I kind of look at things a little differently now, especially you know um trying to figure out ways to do certain things for my own self in my films. So
Yeah, well, this is where kind of my background really kind of came into play because I was going to do some of the effects, but I was also going to bring in effects guys, and I did a little bit here and there to kind of help with some 3D modeling and just kind of specific pieces of it. But we shot the film right before the pandemic, and so I didn't want to finish the film and get it out there not knowing if it's gonna because I don't all the festivals.
Right. Yeah.
But I didn't want that, so I decided, you know what, I'm going to take this opportunity to kind of make myself a visual effects artist, which I did. So it was
Oh.
a lot of YouTube videos, a couple of books, just a lot of trial and error. And yeah, I did the vast majority of the visual effects that you see on there, and it's it's turned out pretty well for me because I've actually been hired now for next year to be a visual effects supervisor on a couple of films. So
Congrats.
Mhm.
picking up as a result of that. But
Yeah.
yeah, it was a fun experience because it was a combination of practical effects
Uh-huh.
and digital effects. We have things that I even in one scene use a technique called Pepper's Ghost, which for the historians that might be watching this, that was from Coney Island. That was like a trick with mirrors where you could create by bouncing light off of somebody that's off the side, you can create the illusion of a ghost kind of being in front of you. And so what I did was I created this and we shot the mirror image of the actor. And because there was no actual data there, it was really just kind of floating light reflections. When I dropped the blacks out of the color grading, all the texture of the face kind of disappeared, and you just had a ghostly image that yeah, I've had people that looked at that and they cannot figure out what plug-in or what software I use to do that. And what I ended up, I tell them it's like, really, I just used a 150-year-old technique.
Wow. I know that term sounded familiar actually when you said that. I'm like, that sounds like a familiar term,
Yeah,
although I don't remember what it meant.
I think Disney still did that for some of their like Disneyland and things like some of the live presentations where they needed to create like ghostly images because it's really just a trick with mirrors. You're just bound,
Mm.
you have an actor that's like way off the side of the stage and they're brightly lit, and then you kind of angle some mirrors to kind of create the illusion that they're
Mhm.
not actually.
And did you learn that when you were off studying, or was that something you knew ahead of time?
That stuff I knew. That I had a little bit more background with the practical stuff because I grew up, like I said, in the analog era, so I learned a lot of
Yeah.
stuff, and I was always curious about a lot of that stuff. But what I didn't know was how that could be integrated into the digital stuff. So what
Yeah.
made this particular scene so creepy and kind of unduplicatable is that we did use digital techniques to drop some of the color out of the image. And like I said, I've now spoiled it, but I've not had anybody figure out what I did yet.
Mm.
And then you worked a little with Joe Castro. Did he do? He was the one that did some of the modeling for you and stuff, or?
Joe, yeah, Joe did. He did. Well, he worked on the. We have a scene where a guy gets his heart ripped out and it's beating in his hand before he dies. That's obviously Joe. And Joe created the creature for the end, the big reveal.
That's
Maya.
what I thought. Yeah, that looked really good. I was impressed by that, to be honest. I was like, oh, that
It
looked
was an
really,
amazing
really
mess
nice.
because it's supposed to be this kind of evil Grim Reaper kind of thing, and it's supposed to be scary and monsterish, but it had to be feminine too because it's Victoria Page,
Mm.
all the makeup there, and if it didn't look like it could have been the same character, the illusion would have been blown, and he just did a fantastic job on it.
Hmm.
He's really great. We were talking to our last guest in the previous episode, and they had worked with him as well, and he did a little voice work for him and stuff. So he's making his rounds out there. He's a really well known guy, and really he does a lot of great work. So it was
Yeah.
cool to see that he was part of that. I had no clue, and once I saw that, I was like, well, no shit, So
It was weird because I worked with not just him but Brink Stevens, and I've been familiar
yeah,
with Brink since the '80s, and I've been familiar with Joe since the '90s, I guess, reading
yeah,
Gloria and the
yeah, me
art.
as well. Yeah,
And I'll be honest, I was nervous as hell the first time. Okay, sure, we'll come on out to our going out to Castro's studio to work with him, or picking up Brink at the airport. It's like you start getting that kind of poser syndrome. It's like, what the hell am I doing here? But
I,
he couldn't have been nicer, and it took only about 5 minutes before everybody was kind of all on board on what we needed to do.
Go ahead.
I wanted to mention real quick, I felt like since we were talking, since we had mentioned about how you and I had done Nereus way back before Nereus, I had done a project before what didn't come to fruition, but Victoria was going to play my daughter.
Yeah.
Like this was in the Wayback Machine, and a film called The B Plan, Plan B or something like that. And she was my daughter. And so it's just like so weird how everything just comes full circle.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of a lot of the old '80s kind of scream queen, era stars and all that, Linnea Quigley and all that. And I had talked with Victoria. It's like on my bucket list as I do have to write some role, short film, feature, I don't know what, but I have to somehow. Victoria needs to play Linnea Quigley's daughter.
There you go.
I got to make this happen somehow.
Yep.
So give us a little since we didn't say anything about it, give us a little plot synopsis for Maya, just so everybody knows it, kind of what we were talking about.
All right. Well, the plot synopsis basically is Maya is a female Grim Reaper, and she's come to kind of collect the souls of people that it's their time, and there's kind of a shroud of mystery about all of it. I based the film on a kind of a Hindu concept of Maya, which is if you're a basically, this is the dumb guy version of this. If actual Hindu scholars or believers will heckle me for this, but concept basically is that life has a dark facade about it, and if you can strip away all the illusion, all the nonsense, all the garbage, then you can kind of elevate to a higher plane of consciousness. And that's basically the concept of Maya. Is for all of these people, they're tempted, and they're kind of facing they're facing their weaknesses, and if they can somehow kind of pass it aside or whatever, then they can maybe find their own salvation. Needless to say, it's a horror film, so that doesn't happen too often.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And you've won a bunch of awards recently for that too, and a bunch of acting nominations and awards too. And so I mean, you're really killing it out there with this. This is it's real. And like I said, I got to see it and watch it, and I thought it was fantastic. I mean, there's some parts where it's a little hard to understand it, here and there, but at the end of it, you understand everything that's going on. And like I said, and like we were talking about, when you get towards the end, some of those special effects are just fantastic. And I mean, especially for indie horror, man. I mean, that's stuff you don't normally see in indie horror. I mean, we see great effects, but not in that caliber. At least that I don't think so. I don't try to consider myself, a critic necessarily, although I do write for websites and review films. But I don't see a lot of those kind of effects. So I was actually really impressed. So
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, like I said about earlier about make your film. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in there that I frankly, I knew that some of it would challenge the audience, but frankly, I didn't care. I just ran right through that because the audience, and so far the audience has kind of met me. I didn't have to play down to the audience. They kind of stepped up to, okay, I see what he's doing, even if it's on the second viewing. For example, I play with color grading in this film, where after this incident of some sort early on in the film, all of a sudden the film goes black and white for just a couple of seconds, and then just very slowly it starts to, and then throughout the film the color kind of gets really weird, and there's variances based on different events and traumatic moments and things like that, and that was all intentional, to see if people are kind of paying attention. So I don't expect the audience to pick stuff like that up the first time, but when you go through the second time and you see, oh, okay, so now I know what actually happened here, that's why he did that with the color. But you're not going to catch that on the first or second viewing. And again, that's just me, a self-indulgent, filmmaker that I am. Wanted to, it's my film. Not everybody's going to like it, and that's fine. But hopefully, they will respect it. He did what he set out to do.
But I love it when I catch something like the second or third or fourth time. I love it when I catch something that I didn't catch, and I'm like, oh my God, and just as an actor or a movie watcher, as an actor, you like to watch movies so you can see the acting and the filmmaking, the lighting, the sound, the cinematography, etc. I love to catch stuff like that. It's a great study. So yeah, totally. It's not indulgent, but you feel like it might be, but it hits.
It's self-indulgent in a good way.
Yeah.
Just to give you one more self-indulgent moment in there, because people, we got some screenings coming up. Hopefully, people will check it out. There's a funny story too. I like to put dialogue into the film that kind of has some sort of deeper meaning for me personally. And there's a scene in a tea house with Brinke Stevens where she uses she's a tea lady and she's serving tea and has the sugar thing and all that. So she says, "So what do you want? Would you like one lump or two?" And we kind of do our thing. But I showed this to a friend of mine, a director, and he kind of said, "Oh man, I love that scene, but yeah, that one lump or two thing, that's like, I don't know, I don't know how to tell you this, but that's like right out of like Bugs Bunny." And I said, it was out of Bugs Bunny, yeah.
And I was thinking Def Leppard.
Pete Puma. Yeah, there's an old cartoon. Yeah,
Bang, bang, bang.
exactly. Yeah, give me a whole lot of lumps. So there maybe only a handful of people will recognize that, but for those people, they'll like it. And the rest of them, it's just a line of dialogue. But I throw stuff like that in intentionally, which a lot of other filmmakers kind of get scared of. But it's like, I don't care. I'm old enough that I just don't care anymore. I'll just, I'm making.
You've been doing it for what, 25, 30 years, something like that in the film business now?
One form or another, yeah. Like I said, a lot of that was in industrial stuff and commercials, and I even did like radio spots, and so I've been, yeah.
Nice.
It's weird hearing the radio spots these days because it's me like doing voiceover over like Stone Temple Pilots and stuff.
Oh, wow. Nice. So you had some distribution. You were going to be putting this movie out, pretty soon and whatnot. Was that correct?
Yeah, we're
Want to talk a little bit about that real quick because we're starting to run down on time here. I just want to make sure we get that in so people know.
Sure. Yeah, we're beginning that process now as we'll end the festival run really the first quarter of next year, but we're going to start sending out the screeners. We've had a couple of offers already, but we'll be entertaining offers for a good 2 or 3 months, and then we'll make a decision on which direction we want to go with that. Like I said, I'm not in any particular hurry. From my standpoint, it's all a matter of just getting the best deal. But
definitely.
we've had a good amount of interest so far, which is very encouraging.
Well, hey, I'll definitely purchase a copy. So just let us know, and I'll let the fans know, and myself, I'll pitch in, of course, obviously.
Are you going to be in Sholo? Are you going to be in Sholo, Paul?
No, I'm not going to be in Sholo. The day of Sholo, October 20th.
Yeah, he's doing the other one.
We're going to be in Phoenix because there is a horror festival for that weekend that Brinke Stevens was coming in for as a guest, and Victoria's got a booth there too. And we're the Friday main attraction. We're going to be screening Maya, and doing a Q&A and all that. And we got they gave us Friday basically. So
I saw that today on Facebook. It popped up, or else on Instagram. And is it called the Terror? Not Terror Trader, but what's it called? The name of the festival?
It's called the Artists Assemble Horror Fest.
Oh, I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, it's in Mesa, and then the weekend after that, we got a thing in San Diego, which is that was a festival that we got. For some reason, they have like a panel of judges who, for some inexplicable reason, awarded us like 12 nominations. So
yeah, hey,
Yeah, so we'll see.
Well, you
how-
got to play at the TLC or TCL or whichever one it is. I always forget that.
TCL, yeah.
Yeah, of the theater
TCL.
in Hollywood. So, which I just saw a movie there recently, just to be able to go in and say I saw a movie there when I was up there doing a little cameo for Psycho 8 2 myself. Or
Oh,
I'll be a ninja in the movie in a courtroom scene. I got a full costume, so you won't see my face or anything, but you'll see me. You know, I'm
awesome.
a
I
martial
gotta,
artist. They were like, hey, you know, I was like, hey, I'll come fight Psycho Ape if you want, and they were like, well, hey, we'll have a scene for you, so come out and do it. So yeah, so I, you know, it was kind of cool to see that your film was playing there. And I had
Psycho 8.
my cousin is an actor up there as well in Hollywood, and he had a web series they were shooting that was playing around the same time. So I thought that was kind of cool that you guys were both there together. So
Yeah, that was a
And
great.
I was there too last year. We had our film there
oh yeah,
last year.
yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
Hanging Buddy. So it was, that's like surreal to like say I was in Hollywood at the Chinese
Right.
theater. You
Yeah,
know,
it's definitely one of those kind of milestones where, from that point forward, you can always say, hey, we played at the Chinese theater.
exactly.
it's a huge
Instant
accomplishment.
Yeah. They gave us a lousy time slot, so we didn't have a huge crowd, but still, we played at the Chinese theater.
Exactly.
Yes.
But,
Walked the
Gloria,
red carpet.
I will myself be in Sholo though, so I'll be.
I
up there.
might see you there if I
Yeah.
can swing it.
Yeah, I'll be there. You know, because somebody has to attend to receive the award, so
That's right.
I'm sure
You
I'm
gotta
there.
go.
So because
Yeah.
nobody else is available, just me. So I'm like, hey, that's a little mini vacation for myself. But
So nice.
before we wrap up here, Paul, where can people follow you and pay attention to everything you got going on?
Well, I'm available. You can reach me Facebook. I do a lot of it's kind of my primary place to contact. I have an Instagram page as well, and those are the big two at this point. So I update the Facebook daily with where to find the film, where to what future projects are coming up, because looks like next year is going to be busy. So that'd be the place of choice.
Awesome. Well, I mean, it was good to have you on here, man, and talk to you. I didn't get to ask you, since we're running out of time, I really didn't get to ask you about the Fancy Lads either. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about your production company as well, but
Boy, Chris Elliott, the movie.
oh,
Chris
that's
Elliott,
where you got that from, huh?
I got that
Fancy
Oh my
Lads.
goodness. No
David
wonder when I
Letterman
posted
cameo.
that. Yeah. Oh,
David Letterman cameo. Man, oh man,
yeah.
I hate fancy.
I just know
Yeah.
Cabin
I
Boy.
love
I
that.
just know Cabin Boy.
Cabin
That's
Boy.
it.
Yeah. That's it.
Is that
That's
where
where it's
Fancy
from.
Lads came from?
Yeah.
Fancy Lads.
Ah, okay
Yeah.
then.
When you said, I'm like, oh my God, Chris Elliott. Yeah, I used to love his show when it was on. So
Oh God, yeah. I
Oh,
think I was the only one in the theater watching Cabin Boy when they came out, but I just
I
I
was there.
always love that. I always revisit that one.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, thank you for coming on and spending a little time talking to us. And like I said, I didn't get a chance to ask you everything, so we'll have to have you back on. You know, later. You know,
anytime.
we'll have you back on at some point and talk more about all your stuff, because you've got other films we didn't discuss and stuff like that as well. But it was
I
good to talk to you. And
appreciate you having me on, and yeah, I'll come back. Be happy to come back whenever you want to hear me bloviate again.
yeah, and I'll definitely be in touch over this Sorry I'm Late film that my next film, because I'm
Forward
going
to
to be
that.
submitting that to the Chandler one. So we'll hopefully fingers crossed that we can premiere there. But being I'm from Chandler, I have a very good chance that they'll accept it, hopefully. So it's kind of a
Hopefully.
dark film, but you guys were both fantastic in it, and I can't thank you guys enough for being part of it
Oh,
and voices. So and I think you guys will be pleasantly surprised when you see the end result. So. And I
Looking forward.
did mess with the colors and did some of the contrast and stuff that you said as well. So thank you.
all right.
All right, that's going to do it for this episode of In the Mouth of Monster. Thank you guys for listening and watching now. Thank you,
Good night.
Gloria. It's always a pleasure.
Gloria Jean Movie Queen.
And we'll see you next time. Stay safe, monsters.
Good night.